In this video, I'm going to cover what's new in the CSM 6.3.9 release. So this is a quick view. You can see that there's a number of new features, some big features too, which I'll get into, but hope you enjoy this release. So let's get started. All right, so the first one we're going to talk about was an idea, an RFE that was opened by a customer. So by default, when you remove copy sets, by default it will remove everything on the hardware in terms of the relationships. However, if you're going to the remove copy set wizard, there is an option there that says yes, keep the base relationships on the storage system. So what that does is allow you to remove the copy sets from CSM management, but the base relationships, the global copy, metro mirror, those relationships or flash copy, those will remain on the hardware. And even with safeguarded copy before, the default was always to remove everything. So what the request was for safeguarded copy, because it's geared towards trying to protect and safeguard your data, the default should really be to keep the relationships on the hardware itself. So we adjusted that, and so in the 6.3.9 release, in the remove copy set wizard for DS8000 safeguarded copy sessions only, the yes keep base relationships on the storage system will be the default. You'll have to unselect that if you want to actually remove the volumes and all the backups from the session. Okay, the next one is another idea, RFE that was open. With FlashSystems, there was a safeguarded copy 1.0 solution. CSM would read the policy off the flash system, automatically create the scheduled task, as well as the session, start managing it based off the policy that was put on the flash system itself. With FlashSystems moving to the new Snapshot-based safeguarded copies or Snapshot technology, this cannot be done because the policy is not stored on the actual flash system itself unless you're using the internal scheduler. So if you want to use CSM to manage the snapshots, there's a lot more flexibility in terms of what you can do with scheduled tasks in CSM in order to manage snapshots. You can do that, but you'd have to manually create the sessions. You have to manually create the scheduled tasks. So there are customers out there who want to automate this. So say they automate the creation of the volume group, automate all the volumes that go in it. When new volumes need to be created, they'll create them and throw them in the volume group. But something needs to automate the actual management of the snapshots or safeguarded snapshots within CSM. And previously, before now, the only way to create a scheduled task was really through the GUI. So what we added was a REST interface to be able to create scheduled tasks themselves. So you can create the sessions today, but the scheduled tasks you couldn't. And so we added that interface. And basically the way it works is because scheduled tasks can be quite complex. It has lots of components in it, such as the actual schedule itself or the one or more actions that you can issue across one or more sessions. We decided to implement as a JSON string. So you input this JSON string, we'll take that string and build the scheduled task based off of it. That is a little more complex, but if you need help, you can always build it in the GUI, do a get for that scheduled task. You'll see the format, and you'll be able to use that format to write your automation code that builds the scheduled tasks after that. In addition, we've had customers that oftentimes there's a environment where multiple volume groups or multiple sessions might need to do the same actions. Say you have a test and environment and a production environment. In those cases, you're awfully manually creating all these duplicate scheduled tasks, which can be kind of tedious and error prone because you're trying to make sure that everything's the same and handled the same. So what we did was we added a duplicate feature to it. So you can select a scheduled task or do it through the REST interface and say duplicate, and we'll create a new scheduled task with all the same options in it. You can go modify that, etc. That's part of in the GUI. This next slide shows you if you did this in the GUI, you can select that in the GUI, and it will automatically put you into the modify task wizard, where you can change the name, and then you can go into the individual actions and change the session names, change any variables that you may need that are different than the task that you duplicated it from, right? So you duplicated it, but the sessions might be different, and that's where you can have that. But all the actions would be the same in same order, and they'll help you go through these and set up your environment a lot faster, hopefully. All right, the next one is a new session called the SGCSizer. So today we have a solution called the ESCSizer. The ESCSizer, you put all the volumes in it, and we will do in CSM a bunch of queries at a given interval that you set in the properties to determine what the right I/O to those volumes is over a certain lapse of time, etc. And the goal is to be able to do two things in the ESCSizer. One is to determine the safeguarded copy backup capacity, help you come up with a multiplier for that based off your actual writes to those volumes. And the second thing is to do any ESC flash copy type sizing. So even like your recovery volume safeguarded copy or regular flash copy, you might need to size those as well. And that's what the ESCSizer does. Unfortunately, in order to do this, what it does today is it has to go to each of the volumes, get the bitmaps of writes, and interpret it. And that bitmap size is dependent on the size of the volume, and then the queries depend on the number of volumes in the session. So in large environments with large volumes, it takes a lot of system resources in CSM to be able to do these queries, and it may cause issues and et cetera in the environment. You have to increase the size of the heap size of the server. Other things, queries may take longer than expected, etc. So we worked with the DS8000 team, and in the 9.4 version of microcode, they have given us a new query that gives us the information without having to get the bitmap and process the information. And so now, if you want to just size for safeguarded copy backup capacity, you can create a new safeguarded SGCSizer session, put those volumes in it. We'll do the queries. You do not need them anywhere near the amount of system resources you did with the ESCSizer. In fact, you could probably run this on the DS8000 HMC now, even though with ESCSizer in a lot of environments, super large environments, you really can't. SGCSizer you probably can now. But I will note for right now, as of the 9.4 release, doesn't give us all the information back, and so that's why it's limited to just SGC backup capacity sizing. So if you want to focus on that and create the multipliers, use the SGCSizer. You'll be able to get the input a lot easier. Plug it into the spreadsheet tool that's out there and get those multipliers. If you need to size other stuff after that, you will need to run the ESCSizer for flash copy related backups. Flash copy related flash copies, etc. But this may help a brunt of the cases, because a lot of the reason customers use the ESCSizer is to size the safeguarded copy backup capacity. So big improvement. Does require 9.4 microcode for the DS8000, but hopefully you'll see a lot of improvement with this one. All right, so the next one I want to talk about is the ability to delete active CSM sessions in the GUI. Previously, we didn't allow you to do a remove session action if the session was in any state other than defined. So if it was prepared, preparing, suspended, target available, whatever it is, you couldn't do a remove session. And that was just extra protection, because the remove session, it will remove all our brains and leave stuff on the hardware, and we didn't want you to leave any relationships out there and not have things cleaned up. Well, over the years, we found that there's a number of scenarios where you actually want to remove all the brains from CSM, but you don't want to touch anything on the hardware. So we do have the remove copy set keep on hardware option that I talked about before, but that only keeps the base hardware relationships. So if you have a global mirror, DS8000 global mirror session, for example, it will keep the global copy and the flash copy relationships, but it will wipe out the global mirror master itself, meaning after you issue it, global mirror consistency groups will no longer form. Or for FlashSystems, if you had a consistency group, it would remove the consistency group, making all the pairs individual, and so you wouldn't have consistency after you issue the remove copy set keep on hardware. And that might not be what you desire, right? You might just want to remove CSM management from it. Say you you've migrating CSM servers, for example. That's the big use case. You go into a new CSM server. The old CSM server you want to get rid of, but you don't. You need to get rid of it cleanly, right? And so what we did was we now in the CSM GUI, we allow you to issue the remove session no matter what state it's in. And the way it really works is it just doesn't touch the hardware. We remove all our brains about the session, don't touch the hardware, and that session is then gone. Any global mirror constructs, consistency groups still form on the hardware that's still out there. FlashSystems, same thing, consistency groups would still be out there. And so you'll still have consistency. The hardware will still be doing its thing. It's just CSM is no longer managing anything. If you need to import that later on, CSM, and this is another reason why we added it, is all the ability to start a global mirror session in CSM for, say, DS8000. If the global mirror master is still running on the hardware, we will simulate that now as long as you have the consistency group name as part of the session details. You can set what that CG name is. If it's the same as on the hardware, we'll simulate it, and you'll be able to pick up where you left off. And so whereas before it became conflicts and all that stuff, which is another reason why we prevented the remove. And so a lot of those reasons are gone, and now you can do that remove session. So hopefully you'll find this useful in a lot of cases, so you don't have to do the remove copy set. The remove session is much faster than doing the remove copy set too, because there's none of that processing. We're just removing our brains. Okay, so the next one I want to talk about is a new view. So as we added support for FlashSystems for the volume group management, so volume group, you have snapshot management, you have now async policy-based replication. In the future, CSM will support high availability PBR, it's policy-based replication for high availability, and then eventually, three-site or whatever they have. So since FlashSystems is moving towards volume group management, CSM, we saw that, hey, you might have more than one session tied to a given volume group, and that you might want to see that a little bit easier in the CSM GUI. So what we have now is under the sessions dropdown, used to be just the sessions itself, but now you'll see sessions or sessions by volume group, so the top picture that you see there. Now, if you go to sessions by volume group, what you'll see is this is mostly a FlashSystem centric view because we don't have that in the DS8000 side. But you'll see that you can see the volume group name and then all the sessions tied to that volume group within CSM below that. So it's all sorted, and you can click the arrow to expand and collapse it. But there it is in the bottom picture. You can see that that one volume group, the test add vol, actually has an async policy-based replication as well as a snapshot session. So we're hoping that this makes it easier not only to manage volume groups and what you're doing with CSM for those volume groups, but help you see maybe which volume groups don't have a session tied to it. So you'll be able to manage it that way. Okay, staying on the FlashSystems, we added some more support for snapshot-based session types within for FlashSystems, and that support is the prepare snapshot and the prepare safeguarded snapshot. So what the prepare commands do on the hardware and now in CSM is it's an extra step before you actually take the snapshot, which will do all the creation of the volumes and the volume groups that are going to be created out in the hardware itself. So when you go to actually take the snapshot or safeguarded snapshot, it's much quicker. So they don't have to do all the volume creation at that point. So you can prepare, and then after the prepare, you would trigger the snapshot, and it'll take the snapshot, either the regular snapshot or safeguarded snapshot after you took it. And so this may help in cases where you need a little more speed for that snapshot processing. You can do the prepare ahead of time. All right, the next one I want to talk about is multi-target global mirror. So in DS8000 9.4, which is released around the same time as this release of CSM, they now have support to have two targets from the same source, both running in global mirror mode. There's a lot of customers have been asking for this. They finally have support, and CSM now has that global mirror session type that allows you to start in multi-target configuration. So here you can see both in the screenshots, just H1, H2 global mirror, H1, H3 global mirror, both a global mirror. We have two different legs, both running, and you can see their states, the status, the session IDs of both, all the details you normally see, whether they're forming consistency groups successfully or failing, all those details for the individual sessions, as well as the RPO history. We can track that, export it, and manage it that way. So this support gives you the ability to start those two legs up. You can start in global copy mode or global mirror mode. You can recover to the other site and start global mirror from there. You need journal volumes at each site, but it's very flexible in terms of moving from site to site, etc. So this is our new support for the 9.4 multi-target global mirror session. All right, last is our new Site Replication Enhanced session. All right, so this one is based off 9.4 microcode as well, and that's because it needs the what they call cascaded incremental resync on the DS8000 itself. So they have a new feature called cascaded incremental resync on 9.4, and that provides us the ability to do a lot of things that we couldn't do before in terms of this Foresight session. So CSM has had a Foresight session for a while. This is an enhanced version. You can see there's journals at every site now. So what that having journals at every site now does is gives us a lot of flexibility. So if in this picture, if I'm going H1, H2 metro mirror, so see that's region H1, H2 volumes are in region 1, H3 and H4 are in region 2. I'm going metro mirror replication in the local region, and then I'm global mirroring from H1 to H3 so that the data is getting to region 2. But if I had a disaster on the H3 volume, so my data stops flowing to region 2, what can I do? Well, cascaded incremental resync allows us to now start up H1 to H4. Customer can do a start GC H1 H4 in that suspended state and get replication going back to region 2 to the H4 box without a full copy. So now I'd be going H1, H2, H1, H4. I'm protected. Once H3 comes back up, I can then start the fourth leg, H4, H3 replication, and be back in that multi-target full Foresight configuration. If I recovered H2, same thing. I can now do different things, either H2 to 1, H2 to H3, or H2 to H4. It's very flexible because now to get to the other region, I can global mirror to any of the different sites. In addition, we've added in the cascaded global mirror solution into this particular session as well. So what is cascaded global mirror? Well, in cascaded global mirror was what we designed with the microcode team, the DS8000 side, to be able to create safeguarded copies at the remote site with minimum pause time on the main DR. So in this picture, the main DR replication is your H1, H3 to global mirror. Well, in order to take a safeguarded copy at this other region, we really need it consistent. So the only way to do that is to pause H1, H3. But with cascaded global mirror, what we're doing is we're pausing H3, H4, H1, H3, and then it's as soon as it allows H3, H4 to pause a lot faster, allowing CSM to resume H1, H3 a lot faster. So in a nutshell, cascaded global mirror allows us to pause this back-end H3, H4 replication very quickly so that we can get H1 and H3 resumed as quickly as possible, minimizing that amount of time that your replication isn't actually going to your second region. Made it very easy for you. It's a new command: suspend Foresight, resume Foresight, so you can automate this, do things from any of the sites, etc. So it's really one of our biggest, baddest sessions to date. It does a lot of flexibility. Even in smaller environments, you might be able to find use for this. You define journals at each of the sites and gives you metro mirror. That metro mirror can support hyperswap in Z environments, but also gives you that global mirror replication. So you can set this all up and handle it in a very symmetric way so that you always have that multi-target metro mirror global mirror solution. I will add that there's for a more enhanced, extensive demo. You can see it in action. I do have a YouTube out there. It's a video. Goes through that demo. You can see a step through each of these transitions I'm talking about. I'll put it out on the blog and etc. so you can see it. But go check that out. All right, with that final, open the RFEs, ideas now. We always looking at them. Please, we love your input. We love adding support for all the things you need. And with that, thank you, and we will talk to you later.